I have not paid for dryer sheets in 35 years, not one box, and the towels coming out of my dryer are softer than the ones coming out of yours right now. That is not a brag. That is arithmetic, and it is the arithmetic the laundry aisle would rather you never sit down and run. My grandmother Betty taught me the trick standing at her back kitchen door, and she had been using it long before the first box of sheets ever landed on an American shelf. It costs about a penny a load. Some loads it costs nothing at all. Between the sheets and the softener bottle, a working household hands over close to $100 every year, and across 35 years, that is better than $3,000 of my money that stayed in my pocket instead of theirs. I am going to show you why a crumpled ball of aluminum foil does what a whole box of sheets cannot. I am going to tell you about a test I want you to run on your own lint screen tonight, right under the kitchen faucet, because almost nobody has ever looked at that screen the right way. And I am going to be straight with you about the one thing this trick will not do, because I would rather you trust me than be impressed by me. Subscribe if you still believe the old ways were built better than the bright boxes. Here is the old trick that works better, and here is exactly why I have not bought a dryer sheet since. Let me start with what a dryer sheet actually is, because once you know, you cannot unknow it. A dryer sheet is a thin piece of polyester fabric soaked in a waxy softening compound and a heavy dose of fragrance. When the drum heats up, that wax melts. It does not evaporate. It does not rinse away. It transfers onto every single thing tumbling in there, and it lays down a fine coating across the fibers. That coating is the whole product. The softness you feel is not the cotton getting softer. It is a layer of wax sitting on top of the cotton so the fibers slide past each other instead of catching. You are not softening your laundry. You are lubricating it. Now here's what nobody tells you. That same coating is what makes a bath towel stop working. A towel does one job, and that job is pulling water off your skin. Cotton loops do that because they are absorbent and open. Coat them in wax and they start pushing water around instead of drinking it up. That is why so many people say their towels feel plush and dry nothing. They are drying themselves with a raincoat. It does the same thing to bed sheets, to athletic clothes, to anything meant to breathe or wick. And on children's sleepwear, that coating can work against the flame resistance the manufacturer built in, which is printed right on the tag if you ever go looking. Now go run the test. Tonight, pull the lint screen out of your dryer, take it to the sink, and run water over it. If your screen is clean, the water pours straight through like it is not even there. If you have been using dryer sheets, the water beads up and sits on the mesh, or it pools and runs off the side. That is the wax. That is a film of softener across the screen, and if it is on the screen, it is on your towels, and it is inside your vent line too. A screen that will not pass water will not pass air either. A dryer fighting a clogged screen runs longer to do the same load, which is more electricity every single cycle. And lint trapped against heat is the leading cause of dryer fires in this country, with fire authorities tracking something on the order of 13,000 of them every year. So follow the money the whole way down. They sell you a wax that coats your towels. The coated towels stop absorbing, so you buy new towels. The wax builds up on your screen, so your dryer runs longer and your power bill climbs. And every one of those problems has a product waiting on the shelf to solve it. The laundry industry did not invent softness. It invented a coating, and then it taught us to call that coating clean. Betty never had any of it. And what she had instead sat in the kitchen drawer: aluminum foil. That is it. That is the whole trick. Tear off a sheet about the length of your forearm, crush it down in your hands, and keep working it until you have a tight, dense ball roughly the size of a lemon with no loose corners and no sharp edges sticking out. Smooth is what you want. Roll it between your palms at the end like you are shaping a biscuit. Make 2 or 3 of them. Toss them in the drum with the wet clothes and run your normal cycle. That is the entire method. No box, no bottle, no cap to measure. Here is why it works. And it is real, not folklore. Static in a dryer is electrical charge. When wet clothes tumble against each other, especially when you mix cotton with synthetics, electrons get stripped off one fabric and pile up on another. As the load dries out, there is no moisture left to carry that charge away. So it sits there and builds until your slips are stuck to your slacks and your socks are hanging off the back of a sweater. Aluminum conducts. As that foil ball knocks around the drum, it touches every surface in there hundreds of times, and each time it touches, it bleeds the charge off and spreads it out instead of letting it collect. The dryer sheet fights static by coating the fabric in a conductive wax. The foil fights static by removing the charge itself. One treats the symptom and leaves a residue behind. The other takes away the cause and leaves nothing at all. Now let me answer the question every single person asks me, because I asked it too the first time I watched Betty do it. No, it does not spark. There is no flame in a household dryer, and a tight, smooth ball has no loose edge to catch. Keep it compact, keep it round, and check it every few weeks. It will slowly compress into a hard little nugget about the size of a walnut, and when it gets down to that, it stops working as well. Tear a new sheet. That takes 10 seconds. I would keep it out of a load of fine lace or anything with open hooks and eyes the same way I would keep a zipper away from a slip. Common sense, nothing more. And here is the arithmetic. A roll of foil runs about $2 and change, and a single roll makes more of these balls than one household will get through in 2 years. A box of 120 dryer sheets runs about $8, and a busy household runs somewhere around 300 loads a year, which is 2.5 boxes. And then there is the softener bottle on top of that at $6 a jug. Somewhere close to $100 a year for a wax coating, against about $1 a year for a drawer you already own. My daughter did not believe a word of it. She has 3 children and a mountain of laundry, and she told me flat out she was not putting tinfoil in a $400 machine. She tried it on 1 load of towels to prove me wrong. She called me that same evening and asked how many she should be making at a time. And that's the kind of thing my grandmother knew that nobody ever bothered to write down. If you want the rest of them, I've gathered every trick, every recipe, every method into one place. Save $4,000 a year with Betty Secret's complete home saving method. Just scan the code on your screen right now, or tap the link down in the description and pinned right at the top of the comments. It's the same knowledge that kept families fed and warm when every penny counted, all in one spot. Go take a look. It's waiting for you. Now the foil handles your static. The second half of this handles the softness, and it happens in the washer, not the dryer. Half a cup of plain white vinegar, poured into the fabric softener cup of your machine, every load. The dispenser releases it during the final rinse, which is exactly when you want it. Detergent is alkaline, and a good deal of it never fully rinses out of cotton. It dries inside the fibers and stiffens them, and that stiffness is what most people are trying to fix when they reach for the softener bottle in the first place. Vinegar is mildly acidic. It neutralizes what the detergent left behind and carries the residue down the drain, So the cotton comes out of the machine with nothing on it at all. Fibers with nothing on them are soft. That is the part the bottle never wants you to understand. Softness was never something you add. It is what cotton already does the moment you stop leaving things on it. The smell question comes up every time, so let me settle it. Your wet laundry will smell faintly of vinegar coming out of the washer. By the time it comes out of the dryer, that smell is gone completely. Vinegar is volatile. Heat drives it off. What you are left with is the smell of clean cotton, which most people have honestly forgotten because they have been smelling perfume for 40 years and calling it laundry. A friend of mine down the road went 11 years thinking her towels were simply old. She had been buying the good softener the whole time, the expensive one. She stripped them once with vinegar and hot water, went to the foil after that, and told me the towels she had been about to throw out are the ones she reaches for first now. Nothing was ever wrong with her towels. Something was on them. A gallon jug of white vinegar runs about $4 and gives you 32 loads, which is around 12 cents a load, against a softener bottle that runs $6 and coats everything it touches. 2 warnings, and I mean these. Never put vinegar in the same load as chlorine bleach or in the machine anywhere near it. That combination makes a gas you do not want in a laundry room. And do not pour vinegar straight onto clothes sitting in the drum. Use the dispenser cup so it goes in at the rinse the way it is meant to. There is one more piece and it costs nothing whatsoever. Stop over drying. Most static is not a fabric problem, it is a timing problem. As long as there is a little moisture in a load, that moisture carries the electrical charge away on its own. The static only shows up in the last stretch of the cycle after the clothes are already dry and the drum keeps tumbling anyway. So use the moisture sensor setting if your machine has one, or set the timer short and check. Pull the load while things are still barely cool and just faintly damp, and hang the shirt straight onto hangers. They finish in about 20 minutes on the rod. They come out without a wrinkle, and the static never gets a chance to build in the first place. That one change alone cut my dryer time down by a good stretch on every load. The machine is not paid by the hour. You are the one paying. And that's the kind of thing my grandmother knew that nobody ever bothered to write down. If you want the rest of them, I've gathered every trick, every recipe, every method into one place. Save $4,000 a year with Betty Sechrist's complete home-saving method. Just scan the code on your screen right now or tap the link down in the description and pinned right at the top of the comments. It's the same knowledge that kept families fed and warm when every penny counted, all in one spot. Go take a look. It's waiting for you. Now I want to tell you where the dryer sheet came from because it explains everything. Fabric softeners did not start in anybody's home. They started in textile mills. Mill workers needed the fibers to run smooth through the machinery without snagging and breaking, so they treated the cloth with a softening lubricant on the production line. It was a manufacturing aid. Nobody in a house had ever heard of it. After the war, the industry looked around at a country full of brand new automatic washers and dryers and realized the same compound could be sold as a household product. First, it came as a liquid you poured into the rinse. Then, in the 60s, somebody had the idea of soaking that compound into a little polyester sheet so it could ride along in the dryer, and the advertising did the rest. And here is the part I want you to sit with. The advertising did not sell softness. Softness is hard to see in a picture. What it sold was a smell a specific manufactured perfume attached to sunshine and clean sheets on a line, repeated in front of a generation until that smell became the definition of clean in the American mind. It worked completely. Ask most people today how they know laundry is clean, and they will tell you it smells clean. That is not a nose. That is 40 years of commercials. Meanwhile, Betty was hanging wash on a wire in the side yard with a bag of wooden pins on her hip, and her sheets came off that line smelling like nothing at all, which is exactly what clean smells like. She had no softener because there was nothing on the cotton that needed softening. Her water was hard, her soap was plain, and she rinsed it all the way out. They did not sell us a better laundry. They sold us a residue, and then they sold us the smell that hides it. A few refinements now that you have the main thing. If you want to spend a little once and never again, wool dryer balls work alongside the foil and do a different job. 3 of them bounce through the load, hold the wet fabric apart, and let hot air move where it otherwise could not, which trims real time off a cycle. A set runs somewhere around $10 and lasts the better part of a decade. The foil kills the static, the wool speeds the drying, and neither one leaves a thing behind. If you do want a scent, put 2 drops of lavender or cedar oil on a wool ball, never on the clothes, and let it go in with the load. It is faint and it is honest, and it fades in a day, which is what a real scent does. And if your towels are already coated from years of sheets, give them one reset before you start. Run them hot with a cup of vinegar and no detergent at all. Then run them a second time with half a cup of baking soda. 2 passes strips the buildup out of the loops, and the cotton wakes back up. And sort your loads. Most static in a household comes from tumbling heavy cotton together with synthetics in the same drum, towels with fleece, jeans with athletic wear. Separate the two, and half your static problem walks out the door before you have done anything at all. Now, here is the honest part, and it matters. This will not make your laundry smell like the perfume counter. If you love that smell, if it is tied to your mother's linen closet, and you would miss it, then this is not the trick for you, and I will not pretend otherwise. What I am offering is neutral, not scented. The foil handles static. It does not shorten your drying time. That is the wool ball's job, and they work best together. In the dead of winter, when the air in the house is bone dry, static fights harder everywhere, and you may want all 3 pieces running at once. That is normal, and it is not the method failing. If you share a laundry room, or you are in a building with coin machines, all of this still works, because every bit of it fits in your basket. A foil ball and a small bottle of vinegar travel just fine. And if anybody in your house has sensitive skin or eczema or asthma that flares in the laundry room, this is worth doing for that reason alone before you ever count $1. Fragrance and softener compounds are common irritants. But I am a grandmother who is good with $1, not a doctor. If it is a real medical matter, ask a real one. And that's the kind of thing my grandmother knew that nobody ever bothered to write down. If you want the rest of them, I've gathered every trick, every recipe, every method into one place. Save $4,000 a year with Betty Secret's complete home saving method. Just scan the code on your screen right now, or tap the link down in the description and pinned right at the top of the comments. It's the same knowledge that kept families fed and warm when every penny counted, all in one spot. Go take a look. It's waiting for you. Here is what I want you to do, and it starts tonight. First, pull your lint screen and run it under the faucet. Watch what the water does. That is 3 seconds, and it will tell you more than I can. Second, if it beads, Scrub that screen with a little dish soap and a soft brush. Rinse it and let it dry completely before it goes back in. Third, tear off one sheet of foil and roll a tight ball. Put it in tomorrow's load. Fourth, buy a gallon of white vinegar the next time you are out and start putting half a cup in the softener cup. Fifth, pull one load out while it is still faintly damp and hang the shirts. Just one so you can feel the difference. Give it a week. Then pick up a bath towel and pay attention to what it does with water. Look, 35 years of this has taught me one thing. The laundry aisle does not sell you softness, and it never did. It sells you a coating, and then it sells you the smell that covers the coating, and then it sells you the towels to replace the ones the coating ruined. Betty used to stand at that back door with the basket on her hip and say the same line every time. Soft is what cotton does on its own, child. All you have to do is quit getting in its way. If this was useful, tap that like button. Subscribe if you want more of the old ways. And drop me a comment with 2 things. How many boxes of dryer sheets you go through in a year? And what happened when you held that lint screen under the water? Next time, I will show you the 3 things under my kitchen sink that replaced every cleaning product in the house. Same idea, different room. Betty knew. Now you know too.